Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Boy, am I excited for today. Long time in the making. Before I introduce you to our guest, here's a quote just for this episode. Don't be too timid and squeamish about your actions. All life is an experiment. The more experiments you make, the better. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Today we have a great experimenter, leader, forerunner, maverick, um, steward of some of the big important behaviors of our modern times. Um, has over 15 years in the home creation industry. It's more
I'll
than a
take that.
mortgage. Yeah, like it has a home creation industry. Um, been involved, currently the chief marketing officer of one of the most impactful companies in, whether you realize know about mortgages or not. Over 300,000 families
Mhm.
had a place to call home in 2020 just alone, because of this company that our guest is a leader within, has been there for a long time and worked their way up through the industry. Studied urban planning in college, which I find is interesting. I want to learn about because that's culture. And there's so much more. But oh yeah, Alec Hanson, thanks for coming on the Culture Matters podcast. I've been wanting
Let's
to
rock,
do
man.
this.
This is great. Thanks for the great introduction, man. That was very kind words. So thank you.
Yeah, so I want to know, first of all, how do you get a 4 point? I know this is nerdy maybe, but you had a 4.2 in high school. How do you even do that? Because the
Oh.
4.0 is the highest,
The you
I
have
thought.
to you have to get you do it through AP classes. So if you get great marks in AP classes, they boost up your
Shoot, I think I,
GPA.
I lost you.
Oh,
Oh,
are you back? So I was going to say that you have to bribe people, but I think it's really through the AP class process that when you get high marks in AP classes, they push past through the 4.0. At least that's what happened in the old. I don't know what the new school system now. Who knows what's happening anymore? But that's what they did back then.
were you a motivated uh young person trying to create all of what you have today? Like then, did you have that foresight, or were you just
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've always been very self motivated, and I think that's a potential side effect of your parents and kind of what they kind of instill in you as you grow up. I have a really core memory when I was, I think, third grade, or you never remember what was going on back then, but I think I brought home a B or a C, and my mom sat me down and she said, you're not a B student or a C student, like you get A's, and I was like, I guess I do, and like so such started my identity, formation. So the second things were not in that direction, I was like, well, I got to figure this out. So I got a lot of self motivation, which is very helpful.
I feel like I see that in how you influence the industry in some level. Like there are so many people getting C's and D's, and you're like, no, you're an A player. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. I mean, that's what immediately came on my mind when you said that.
Oh, just my messaging to other people through some of my content about that kind of
You're one
stuff.
of the, yeah, like what, are you that person today for many in some sense?
So it's funny. So Rene Rodriguez is a good friend and somebody who I look up to and has had transformative impact on me and others. And in my, I think we're all on journeys of self discovery, if that's fair. Like I
Oh, yeah.
hope a lot of us are on our own journeys, and as you're getting older and figuring stuff out and changing your viewpoints and evolving, so to speak. And part of my journey, is similar to a lot of others. I was heavily bullied in elementary school and kind of junior high, to the point where as I kind of grew through all that, and kind of found my own identity and was able to stand on my own, foundation. I've realized that there's a lot of people who are like me that just needed somebody else to call out or to see in them, maybe the same way my mom saw in me, like who I really could be and who I am. And so, the world is as someone who's always like battled demons of insecurity his whole life. being able to kind of push through that with others has kind of been a calling underneath my, profession that has been very important to me. And you battle that a lot when you are in sales. And so salespeople tend to be front runners in fighting that fight, because you're going to get rejected a lot as a salesperson. You got to put yourself out into a position of vulnerability often, and do things that are uncomfortable often. And so I have a huge empathy and compassion for my people that do, like, that experience that. And then ironically, when you look at the digital transformation that's been happening, and this whole like put yourself on camera and share yourself to the world, man, it's the same battle.
Mm.
All those insecurities of you're not worthy, you don't matter, and they mask themselves as like you don't like what you look like or you sound like, but really it's the deep stuff is the same stuff.
Mm.
I just feel this big empathy towards it, and it drives a lot of my content messaging, because I feel like on the other side of that is success and opportunity, and maybe a little more grounding and comfort in your own skin. And so I'm passionate about it. So it just kind of comes out.
You did 100-day video challenge at one point. Is that correct?
That was the so yes, I had this epiphany about 5, 6 years ago that the modern consumer and that we as a society are turning into what I would call an internet first society. So as opposed to the referral based society, which it still exists, but you'd call your friends or your family or your mom or dad for like advice or for a resource. Today we whip this little device out of our pocket and we start poking around. And so because we're going to the internet first, that behavioral change is changing sales, it's changing relationships, it's changing how humans interact, it's changing our culture, it's changing everything. And as a referral-based salesperson who built all their business historically on relationships, which is what I did, this is throwing a whole new dynamic into our world that I think modern salespeople aren't prepared for. So I was like, you got to get on the internet. You got to get on social media. You got to get on video. You got to put yourself out there. And I realized as a leader, I was doing none of that. And I was like, well, that's not acceptable. I don't
Mm.
value that in leadership. I think somebody who calls themselves a leader needs to be in the trenches and leading, like not just in the ivory tower, but like in the front lines to a degree. So I was like, you know what? Then I got a camera. What's stopping me? I'll do 100 days. I'll put a video out every day for 100 days, and I'll see what happens. And yeah, it was wild. Started a lot of things for me.
What year was that?
Oof. You know what? I will find out, because after COVID happened, I think I've lost track of all sense of time and all meaning.
Absolutely. Well, but it was before that, so that seems like a very strong foreshadow for what was to come.
Yeah, it was. I'll pull it up while we're wrapping here, and I'll
Sure.
I'll I'll find some of the dates here.
Uh, how many days in? How many days in did it take for you to say, uh, what am I doing?
Well, so I have this. I don't know if it's a superpower or if it's just I'm just special, but like I can just put my head down and go, and and then as I'm kind of playing, I'll look up. Okay, so it was the first video was 4 years ago when I did the 100 videos in 100 days.
Oh, like almost exact in April,
Yeah,
March,
I mean
April.
the YouTube says 4 years ago
Wow.
when I look at the first video.
Could have been right after COVID or during the beginning of that.
Yeah,
Well, that poses more, that how important do you think it is for leaders to show up in the times of crisis?
I mean it's arguably the most important time. And it's the only time that leadership really matters in some regards.
Why?
Everyone can be a leader when things are good, and I think that's what separates managers and leaders, because that definition gets tweaked a lot. People are in positions of management, but doesn't mean they're a leader. And you can be a leader as the lowest person in the totem pole. And so, but I think leaders are created in the hard times. I think that's when the opportunity to shine comes in. And I
Hmm.
think the irony too of leadership isn't that you know it all; it's just that you're willing to step into things. It's not that you're a guru and you've mastered stuff and now you can lead. I think leadership is just being willing to be in the space
Hmm.
and figure it out along the way. Definitely you can impart wisdom that and all that fun stuff, but sometimes leadership's just about like, I'm going to figure this out with you.
Hmm.
And so I don't know. I think the hard times are what create leaders.
Yeah, so back to, that first 100 days,
Yeah,
was there, because there are people listening to this that may have thought about doing something close to even a
sure.
10th, a tenth or a third or what have you of what you did. What was there a moment in that process or moments where you recall thinking all sorts of rationalizations for stopping?
Oh, I mean, well, yes and no. So I joke that you have to use your own insecurities against yourself.
Hmm.
Meaning your insecurities can also be your rocket fuel. So one of the things that I know about myself over the time is that if I believe that somebody is watching me or that I am going to be judged or viewed or kind of reviewed, then I'll put myself through tremendous discomfort. And so when I did the 100 videos in 100 days, I started with a public declaration that I'm going to be doing this.
Hmm.
And that's my insecurity hack for myself, because the second I put that into the universe, I will never fail that. And even though no one cares, and I know no one cares, I'm not special. No, I don't matter. I'm not some famous, no one cares. But the fact that it potentially someone could be like, oh, he's going to fail this. I'm going to watch. I'm going to wait. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I just can't handle it. I can't handle it, and I'll put myself through. So like Jay, hysterically, I lost 55 pounds recently,
Oh, wow.
and I had hip surgery. I had my left hip replaced, and up to that surgery last November, I had gained a ton of weight. I was in a lot of discomfort. I was making a lot of excuses. I'd always been very active. I played sports in college. I was pretty fit for a lot of my existence, but life caught up to me. It got rough, and I just put on a ton of weight. And as soon as I got my hip replaced and the pain of the physical therapy was done and all that kind of work was done, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do another 100 days of insanity. And I basically put out publicly that I was going to eat meat and vegetables as my primary food intake with some fats. So no breads, no processed foods, no cereals, no alcohol, no sugar. And I was going to I was going to break a sweat or work out every single day. And surprise, surprise, after 100 days of that, I was down 55 pounds.
Wow.
And I, but that's my insecurity hacking again. I just felt like if I put it out in the world, I'm gonna achieve it.
Is there something for you to 100 days?
Um, I think now that it's weird that you say that, because I've been thinking about that. Because the 100 videos in 100 days, there was nothing significant of 100 days. It was just felt like a big number. Felt like something that it would be hard to accomplish.
Yeah, it's a big number.
Yeah, yeah. And then, so then when I was looking to like, okay, I know I need to lose some weight. I got to get my health back. I got to figure this out. I was like, well, 100 days thing seemed to work. So let's just pick that number again. And so, I mean, I don't think it's any more significant than it's just a big round number that I think, you know, I mean, you've seen maybe the 75 hard stuff, and, there's
Yeah.
lots of kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I just picked 100.
Well, it's harder than 75.
Yeah. Well, so it's funny that the quote you started with, like
Yeah, Emerson.
it's everything's an experiment. Everything's made up. Like everything in the world is just made up. So is my 100. I just made it up. Just felt like a
Hmm.
good number.
What was the inspiration for Bypassed? That's your book.
Oh, yeah. So just like we talked about, the 100 videos and this epiphany that we've become this internet first society. I just viewed like, and you have to remember, so my background, I was a in the street originator. So I was driving to open houses, I was going to broker previews, I was calling agents, I was belly to belly. And now, granted, I had MapQuest printouts and a Nokia phone, so it wasn't like I had all of human knowledge in my pocket. So like I was in the streets, and that's how I built my business. Fast forward 20 years in the industry, and now we're all staring at our phones every day. And the only word that kept coming into my brain was, man, the localized professional, sales professional, whether you're mortgage or whatever, is being bypassed by a digital customer who's going on their phone first, and you're not there. And they're there, and they're looking at things, and they're getting swept up. And you look at these major companies, like I'll use like Zillow as an example, right? Like the only reason Zillow exists is because smartphones exist. And then the power of the internet that just now took customers that realtors were naturally getting, intercepted them, and then sold them back to realtors.
Yes, yes.
It's amazing. So that's the bypassed word is just the one word that kept sticking in my brain about what was happening to the localized sales pro.
Do you see our listeners' investment into their personal brand as a hedge against
It's the only
the
hedge.
Zillow?
It's the only thing you can do. And people throw around personal brand a lot, and it gets a little bit twisted up in because it's kind of this big language to a degree. And I just think of it as relationships and influence.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because to me, I want your thoughts on this. Personal brand without a business underneath it is just an OnlyFans account.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, but like a great boss and mentor back in the day said, like, everyone's selling something. Because I went to college at a fancy college, and everyone wants to be some kind of like manager, or they're going to come out and do some heavy work, and sales was really, you're going to go into sales. You like graduating from here and going into sales, like, ew.
You got that a
And
lot?
of course, and then this mentor of mine was like, dude, everyone's selling something. Stop it. Everything's sales. Like, frame it
Mm,
any way you want, but like the teacher is selling their content. They're
mm,
selling their education, their message. They're selling their course. Everyone's selling. So it helps me kind of break down some of my biases, and it made me realize as we look at the world today that if you want opportunity for whatever you're doing in your life, you likely need relationships and influence. And the more relationships and influence you have, the more opportunity you get in whatever you're doing.
mm,
So, the quote digital brand or personal brand, all that stuff it's just an opportunity to leverage the modern customer / human experience and to show up in ways to expand your relationship and influence. And you can do that terribly and be unsuccessful because you just talk about yourself and you're arrogant and you're not understanding the mediums. Or you can do it really well. And I mean, how many people have exploded their businesses and their careers because of this new connection ability? It's wild.
If we're going to talk specific to the industry of mortgage,
Sure.
home ownership, where do you see the opportunity as it relates to these behaviors?
Well, specific to mortgage or real estate, the game in that world is to get customers. So simplistically put, like, how do you get more customers? Well, you need to have trust, you need to have connection, you need to have rapport, you need to have influence. You need to be able to showcase your expertise and to build all that. And so, if you're talking about the individual salesperson, how do they do that? Well, there's lots of ways to do it, but one of the clear ways is to figure out how to find their voice on these social platforms, besides all the other stuff they can do.
Mm,
Corporations have the same opportunity, in the same spaces. How do they make connection and form relationships and build trust? Same challenges.
mm. How tuned in do you think the corporations the companies in mortgage are to this concept? Like one would be the lowest, 10
Yeah,
would be the highest.
this is going to be way more aggressive than I think I want it to be, but I think they all suck terribly at it, and I think that's also because I think people are still suck at this.
Mm,
So and they're just companies are just a bunch of people. So I just think that a lot of it, a lot you see in it is transactional. It's
mm,
like the dancing monkey, click here, low rates now. It's trying to hop on trends because it's like, well, we got to do this because that's what's going viral, as opposed to like finding their authentic voice and being like, no, we're just going to stand on who we are, and that's the message. Lots of stuff like that.
Mm. What are some values that you'd say have built the teams that you've worked with throughout the years?
Hmm. You know,
Or revealed the behaviors of productive teams?
well, I've led and been parts of very large teams before. And right now my team in marketing's, call it like 35 people, rounded up and down. But I've had, thousands of people in my org in larger parts of my leadership career. And, I think that hard work is almost like one of the most foundationally easy to say and accomplish. I mean, you don't have to have super high degrees and an incredible brain to do hard work. And a lot of times the hard work isn't the stuff that's the most complicated. It's the stuff that just requires the most consistency and effort. So let me give you a funny example. I ran a campaign for my sales team back in the day called Be There. The whole campaign was called Be There. And it had nothing to do with results. We tied everything into action. And I proved this over and over again that it does not take, you don't have to be a mortgage wizard to win in our space. You just have to be there more consistently than your competition. And if you are willing to continue to show up over and over again, you will win. And so we built a whole thing on just showing up wherever our referral partners were, wherever the customer were, wherever the chants were. We just made impressions. We just showed up, and over again, it just proved that hard work and consistency beat out the really smart mortgage like savants that could structure
Mm.
any deal, that were really good at it, that just they lost to people that would just show up.
Mm. People that are listening that are in and around real estate now, uh, how do you show up when you don't, when you can't? Like how do we reconcile that paradox?
Well, when you say can't, so let's unpack it for a sec, right? Like, what do you mean can't? Like, I got a kid's soccer game and I
Let
can't.
me scenario below my self-awareness. I've been within a milieu of things coming towards me, incentivizing certain behaviors of action.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning I'm getting called, there's consumers coming to me. Maybe I'm
Yeah,
under a tree with a basket running around catching apples.
sure.
I couldn't actually do the things that I
Yeah,
once did when I had the time to reflect and have a plan and
yeah,
then call the potential borrower or whatnot.
yeah.
Because now I can only do one thing at a time.
Yes.
Now
Yep.
I'm picking up the phone and that's how I'm acting and getting right. That's okay. I'm trying to
I
articulate
get it. I totally
what's in
get
my
it.
head.
Yeah. So it's this
It's
world
like if
of,
that's the current state of the structure of the environment
yep.
has shifted.
Yeah. So the first fun thing to kind of unpack in that conversation is everyone has the same 24 hours. That's all we have. And we have all, so I joke that you have all the time that there is, because so does everybody else. And you have to figure out for you where to put your time. And we know you have to sleep and eat, and that's kind of done, and do the human stuff, like, so that's kind of done. And then we've got relationships we want to foster, right? We got our families, we got our friends, we got things that are very important to us that I could argue are some of the most important things. We have our health, got to figure that out, got to take care of that, because if you're sick and dying, can't help anybody else. So all of a sudden, those 24 hours start to shrink down. And then you just got to have to figure out for you what your list of non-negotiables are. And I'll give you a silly example. So in my glory days of originating loans, Thursdays were a thing called broker preview, right? Did I lose you? No.
I got you.
All right. Thursdays were a thing called broker preview. And broker preview were agents that held open houses for other agents. And that was in Newport Beach. And on Fridays in the city of Costa Mesa, there was another broker preview. And agents would hold open houses for agents. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, agents would have open houses for customers, right?
Hmm.
Just normal one to four, typically 1 to 4. So during those windows, that was the only time that I could have a chance to walk into that house and meet that agent. I could cold call them, sure, but I hate cold calling. I'm too afraid of rejection. I don't want to bother somebody. I don't like getting cold called. So I was like, I'm not going to cold call agents. I hate that. I'm not going to be interrupting their life. So I had this window where I could possibly get a chance to walk in, shake hands, introduce myself, say hi, and then make an impression. If I let anything come into that window from 1 to 4, I was going to miss my only chance to do this. So I let nothing come into that 1 to 4. Now, as I got really successful, I would have clients. I'd have people call me, and they need help, they need assistance, they need whatever, and it's that 1 to 4 window. And it's like, okay, well, now I got to figure out what I want to prioritize. Can I call this person back? Is it an emergency fire? Do I have 15 minutes to walk in and meet this agent and then call this person while I'm driving to the next house? And you got to balance all that. But I'm telling you, I was so militant and so driven that this was my priority, that everything else had to take a back seat. And I think, to your question of the can'ts, insecurities and personal limitations aside, certain things have to be a core priority. And if they're not, you're going to just limit the ability you have to be successful. And I'll give you another example. I work with, obviously, people in all demographics and all age ranges and all family situations. And some people are like, Alec, I can't go on the weekends and meet the agents. In fact, I could, but I'm choosing to go to my kid's soccer game instead. It's more important. I honor it. I understand it. But you just have to have the awareness that somebody else is going to be in that house talking to that agent. And so if you're going to prioritize your kid's soccer game over a business prospecting strategy, then you're going to have to figure out how to work around that or deal with some of the implications, which maybe you might not get that relationship as fast, or you might not be able to break in there as fast, or someone could steal that from you. But this was more important. And that self-awareness is just key to that, because you can be radically okay with that. And that's a healthy place to be. But, back to my comment about prioritization, you got to really understand what's a non-negotiable, and nothing else can come in that space.
How much do you think the conversation is about awareness and content? Because the reason I ask that is I'm thinking, if there's a whole generation of labor that's used to a certain way, they may just not know. Well, obviously, we don't know. We don't know. There may be
Yeah.
things they don't know. They don't know. So I guess I'm not even sure if I have a question that. Maybe it's just having these conversations. But like, hey, okay, so here I can help. What were you doing in 2008 to actually, because that you started in 2008 at Bank of America, right?
So I started at a company called Countrywide in 2001, part-time. And I started full-time there after I graduated college in 2003. And then I worked there through the acquisition at Bank of America. So Bank of America acquired that company in the crisis. And I worked for Bank of America for about 3 years before I went on to iMortgage and then loanDepot.
During that crisis, I'm not comparing that crisis to the current state of affairs, but what I am, because I don't think that's my place, but during a crisis time like that, what types of behaviors, what did your schedule look like? How did you adapt and interact with the marketplace?
Yeah.
Maybe that would be helpful for those that are not used to.
Well, that whole, like, saying that you can only control what you can control, and everything else, you got to, so like the market, you can't control the market. You can't influence where rates go. You as an individual can't do any of that. All you have is what's in front of you today. You can't, tomorrow's, who knows, and yesterday's done. So it's just like literally these moments that you have to like deal with what's in front of you and go after it. And if you're a career mortgage professional, through the ups and downs, you realize that you have control of certain key things that are going to point you and deliver success for you. And that's expanding and deepening relationships at scale. And so you can do that in any market. You can make relationships in any market, and you can find success in any market. It's just going to be a different, definition. My dad taught me this a long time ago. He's been in the business 40 years, and he's really smart. And I'm at that stage in my life where my dad's a genius again. Your parents a genius when you're a kid, and then you're kind of like, this guy's an idiot. And then, I'm back to he's a genius.
That's
So
cool.
he told me if you look back on your career in lending and you average your incomes, because there's ups and downs depending on this thing, if you average it all, you would do that. You would do that again. So it's not about the ups and downs. It's about the longevity through it all. And in any crisis, there's good and bad, and there's opportunity everywhere. You just have to deal with what is in front of you. And there's a lot of people that make excuses about the market. And I think that just limits their ability to achieve the success they're capable of.
Hmm. What are your how do you define, or how would you articulate culture and its relevancy or irrelevancy?
I like that question. Because I feel like culture is a reflection
Mhm.
of what people are doing. And so people talk about wanting to change culture, and I think what they're trying to say is I want to change behavior of people, because all culture is it's like it already happened. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like looking through the rearview mirror. Like that's the culture. Well, because it's all the actions that have and the behaviors that are now being expressed and experienced by others.
Hmm.
Um, and so
Hmm.
it, in my opinion, culture is as important as the behaviors of the team are important. So, if you have toxicity, if you allow toxicity, if uh, don't have a ethics of hard work and accountability and a personal responsibility, your culture reflects those things, and you show up with what I would call a poor or toxic culture. If you hold standards really high in certain areas, then your culture is going to reflect all that. So I
Hmm.
really think it's just the mirror or the reflection of the behaviors of the team and what they hold acceptable and not acceptable.
You think or I'll say, um, my, I want your opinion on this statement. I think I see marketing and culture get confused often.
Marketing and culture.
Yeah, like
Interesting. Give
based on your
me.
definition, like you said, a reflection of what people are doing. I love that. So let's say we do the value exercise.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is our culture. Abide by. Then it becomes a marketing tool as opposed to a self awareness
Mm.
of us looking in the mirror at ourselves and thinking, "Am I this?" So it digresses into some type of tool or like a weapon or a shield, and it's yeah. So it
Yeah,
gets
I think.
confused. Like I liked your definition a lot. You understand culture better than a lot of culture people in your marketing, which I like that.
I
That's
think.
good.
I'll take it. I'm taking it. I'm taking it to the bank. Um, I what I want to play with in what you just said, because I find it interesting, is you know sometimes marketing is expected or asked to kind of create this impression for consumers, or stakeholders, maybe internal as well. So maybe not just externally facing, maybe internally too, of things that we want to be or things that we think are attractive, versus understanding that that's not what creates culture. Culture is created by the behavior of the individuals at the organization, and is reflected out. So you probably experienced this, or at least I know people that all of us have as consumers. It's like you hear somebody or a company say one thing, but when you act with them, it's so different.
Yes.
And you're like, this is incongruent. You say you're this, and then I talk to your customer service person, and they're the worst people in the world. So you're incongruent.
Yeah.
And you see that in individuals too, and entrepreneurs, people running their own businesses. They'll say like, well, we do this, and then when you engage, you're like, that's not congruent. You don't do this. And so it's a trap for marketing to be like, this is who we are, when it's not, because the world's going to sniff that out.
Hmm.
You can't hide. Someone's going to engage and immediately be like, I hate this. This isn't right. This isn't real. I'll tell you one of the things I'm really passionate about, that I'm newish in the CMO role. I'm less than a year still. And so I haven't succeeded here yet, but I'll share this as an area where I'm very passionate and focused. Responding to comments on social media. So one of the things you'll notice, at least maybe you will now, when you look at people that are putting out ads or content at companies, they tend to block and mute their comment section. And they do it for a lot of reasons. They do it because there's trolls on the internet. I understood. But they also do it because there's upset customers potentially on the internet, and they come at you, and they're mad, and maybe they're mad with reason to be mad. Maybe they're not just trolls. Maybe someone screwed some. Maybe a human messed something up for them, and they want their pound of flesh. And so I am crazy about finding the balance of, hey, this person is just a troll, and it's like a fake account, or they don't care, and they're not like, and they should not get the chance to have our platform to talk on. Or, this person is just like needs something else. So I'll give you an example. I did a video on the myth that you need 20% down to buy a house, because you don't. Now, that doesn't mean that putting less down on a house is the right thing for every person. That's not what that means. It just means there's different tools here, and what's the right one for you. And a lot of people commented putting less than 20% down is a dumb idea, and they were passionate about it. Like, that's stupid. Don't do it. And they threw out their reasons. And I'm sitting here going, we're going to respond to every single one of these, and we're going to do it with empathy, and we're going to do it with no arrogance, but like, they're talking to us. Let's talk back to them. And to me, that's an opportunity that I think differentiates our culture and who we show up to be in a way that's very real. It's like, let's engage back.
What could be the missing or the invisible costs or ramifications to our listeners that aren't doing that? They're blocking, they're deleting, they're like, what do you think are some of the costs, some of the ramifications?
Well, let me answer it this way, or let me share a perspective this way. I think that as a society, all of us are changing all the time. And you can see it when you look back in these big swipes, but you don't always see it in the day-to-day. And so, for example, like, I think a lot of us are sick of being advertised to, and sick of being marketed at. And I think a lot of us are sick of the emails and the spam and the texting and the calling. And I think we're just kind of getting more and more done with that.
Yeah.
And, you look at like the behavior of streaming platforms and people like skipping commercials and not, they don't want it anymore. Unless it's something like the Super Bowl, where they're actually excited to watch the commercials because they know the time and effort that went into those. And there's an investment in some people to that world. So when you look at the modern, the contemporary customer, consumer, human, you got to figure out how to change your strategies, because I think that they're done with the old stuff. And it doesn't mean the old stuff doesn't return and have an ROI that maybe you need to pay attention to and leverage, but what's the new stuff that's happening that you're just ignoring? And so, like, to me, that's the commenting back to people on the internet. There's a very easy perspective of, I just need to block and mute. This is not what I need. But then you go back to the question, well, then why the hell are you on Facebook? Why are you there? Well, I want leads. Well, why aren't you talking to the people then? I don't know. It's one dude's perspective.
I want to affirm. I want your thoughts on this. If I hear customer service, it seems oxymoronic to block and delete customers or potential customers. So that I agree with your proposition, and I think that is a very profound, important discussion.
Well, I'll just share this though. It's super hard, and like, we're not good at it yet. Like, I want to be like really clear for anyone that like, just because I'm saying big things doesn't mean I'm executing yet at where I want to hold myself to that level of accountability. But like, it's a priority for me. I think it matters. I think these are humans, and they just because they're on the internet doesn't mean that they're not a human, and we got to figure that out. And I know it's easy to hide behind anonymous, handles and all that stuff, but yeah, I think it's, you know, we're working on it.
That's awesome. I really appreciate that. What a great, I'm so happy that you're saying this because how many voices are in the room starting with that? What was your word for 2023? If you were to have one, if even if you didn't have one,
Perspective.
why?
You know, 2023 was a brutal year, one of the hardest in real estate and lending in like ever, almost, arguably ever, like crazy. And I went through the last crisis. And my dad went through 3 before that, or 2 before that, and he was like, "No, this is gut wrenchingly terrible." Because even in the 2008 crisis, there was still inventory, meaning the companies got blown up, people's products had to change, but rates stayed pretty low, and we were still able to do loans in a much more stringent capacity. But there were houses that you could still buy. Today in 2023, and what's dragging into 24 is there's no inventory, there's no houses, and rates are higher than people want them to be, and so they're all freaking out. So, but in 2023, it's perspective because like so here's a strategy I was pushing my team in a lot of ways. When things are really hard and you're like, my business is down, I'm not, and you, especially if you come off record years where you made, most people made ridiculous amounts of money. Now they're making less than maybe a average year, and they've lost their perspective. They've lost the perspective that they just banked, and they hopefully banked more money than they've really done in years. So it's
Yeah.
almost like they paid themselves early, right? They paid themselves in advance of what's going to come later. But it's like I see these millionaires lamenting their life, and I'm like, can you just go to a soup kitchen and serve somebody for 5 seconds and just get that perspective? Like, go to a cancer ward or like a kid's, cancer ward, and I'm pretty sure your day is going to be okay after you get done serving people that are in real like life issues. So I
Hmm.
think perspective, and that's to diminish anybody who's experiencing those in mortgage also, because that's real. People have real life, but like, because it's a down year, that perspective can make things palatable. A great example is like, okay, it takes 3 times the effort now to get the same result I had last year. I have to work 3 times as hard just to get the same result. It's brutal. It's demoralizing. It's frustrating. Um, but my life's pretty damn good. I'm healthy. My family's healthy. Just go work harder. just, I don't want to be like, let's go callous, like just suck it up. But like, life's also pretty dang good still. You just made a ton of money. I think you can handle a little hard work.
Hmm.
So I'm not trying to diminish the hard work or the pain of it, because it's hard and it hurts. But that was my word for 2023 was perspective. It just helps you tolerate things that you're kind of like, wow, this is really annoying and terrible and hard. And then I'm like, well, no, it's not that bad. I'm okay. I got this.
What would you advise people to look for in their leaders of like if you're some okay, these are is it certain values that come to mind or like because there are people the reason I'm asking that is uh if I feel alone and I'm not and I can't model anything, I'm not I need leadership or
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can also, so you can look to your leadership, and ideally they're in the trenches right next to you.
it's important.
Ideally, right? They're right next to you in the foxhole, and they're reachable and attainable, and they're fighting the fight with you. So you've heard of, I'm sure you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Oh
like
yeah.
most humans have, right? So do you recall what the baseline foundation of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is?
Is that like food and shelter or
Yeah.
water? Food and
Yeah,
shelter.
food, shelter, and water, basically, right? Like things to keep you alive.
Yeah,
And then
livable
the very
competency.
top is like spiritual development and enlightenment, like practices. Because, when you have all these things taken care of, because if you're dying and you don't have food, you really don't care about much else. You
You
know,
need someone actually cannibal,
yeah, yeah, things are crazy, right? Things are getting dark. So
which is
in
what
in the
companies do
in
too.
the lending business, I used to laugh, and I did a video on this called Maslow's hierarchy of loans.
Oh, I
And I
love it.
just said, look, if you're a leader and your team has no loans and they're dying, it's not the time to get up into the spiritual development coaching guru zone and be like, here's what you need to do. No, you need to get on the phone and get them a loan. Get them a freaking call a realtor yourself and set an appointment for your loan officer. Pull them next to you and call their database with them to try to get leads. Like, get in. So hopefully, ideally, you have leaders that are that type of leader. But I'll tell you, I've found that there're just not many people like that in the world. Not in mortgage, just in general. They're just not that many type of people. And so where I was staring off into space as you were asking me that question is, I don't think it's as easy as, oh, my leader will come here. I think sometimes you just have to find that wherever you can find it. Could be a podcast, could be a book, could be an old mentor, could be someone outside of an industry, could be a parent,
100 days of videos.
Could be, yeah. I mean, we all wish it could be ourselves, right? We could just pull ourselves out and just just do it. But that sometimes you need it somewhere else. I mean, one of my awakening moments, if so to speak, is when I really got into the 100 videos and I started my podcast and I did all this stuff. It's because I was on a jog in the morning and I went and got a coffee and I was walking back and I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk on a podcast. And I love Gary V because he says the same shit every time. I swear he's like a broken record. He's just like, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. And I kept being like, yeah. And then I'd be like, wait, I haven't done any of this stuff. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm agreeing with him and then I'm not doing any of it. And so it was literally like, I've heard him say it 1,000 times. And he's like, you need to start making content. I'm like, okay, I'll do it now. So, sometimes it's something external that can give you a little unlock in the right moment.
Your podcast, what have you learned from doing it? It's been almost 5 years, correct?
Yeah. It's super fun. I mean, I wish I could do it like at a higher velocity, because as we talked about earlier, you have 24 hours. You got to pick what you get to do. And so it's connecting. You find great network, expand your network. You meet really cool people. I did it because I want to be able to prove to other people that it's doable, and here's my learnings from it, and here's why you should do it. And I really feel like a lot of businesses and salespeople need to have one as a great tool. And so it's been so enjoyable. I mean, hell, I got to fly out to New York and bring Gary Vaynerchuk on my podcast in his office. It was amazing. So that there's just been so many amazing things that have happened from it.
Monologue, guest, is a mixture?
I've played around with a lot of different things. I really encourage people to break podcasts up into seasons, because it allows you to bring some versatility into it and allows you to change the tone of it as certain things become maybe more relevant or more important to you. And that's a learning I took from just my own best practice, like my own world. And I've enjoyed that because I did a season with loan officers and we just talked down at loan officers. Right now I'm up here doing some marketing and branding conversations, and I'm bringing in some experts in that area. And that's the season we're in right now. I've done some really random crap because I was just trying to figure it out. And that was fine too. I did one where I just interviewed loanDepot executives in the beginning, because it was like, that was easy to access and easy to bring those people in. And so I think that, it just, you got to just have fun with it. I mean, just don't stop having fun.
And the book, I want to make sure people can pick it up.
Sure.
It's, I had the title right here.
Bypass, baby.
Bypassed. Why? There's endless options for literature, audio books to listen to, physical books to read. What's your strongest argument for why that book is an investment into our listeners' time?
So, funny side note is I narrated it. The audiobook version of this book is read by me.
Like on Audible?
Yeah, it's on Audible. And
that's awesome. I'll buy it right now.
Nothing will make you feel dumber than reading your own book.
But I hate when other people do it.
So
Yeah,
It's
that good job. That's some
it's
really
just
awesome.
me. I sat in the studio and grinded that crap out, man. It was rough, but it's on Audible. 100% of every cent that I earn from the book and the Audible, I donate to Freedom Alliance, which gives back to our veterans. And the reason that I donate 100% of everything is because when I started in this industry, my biggest key to success were the people that I asked for their time to teach me what they do, and they gave it to me. And literally, I remember my first like month as a loan officer, I was like, holy crap. And I looked at the leaderboard and I saw all these amazing originators who were doing tons of business. And I was just like, can I buy you a coffee? I will drive to your office. I will get to wherever you are, or we can get on a phone call. Will you just give me 30 minutes and tell me what you think I should do and what you do that makes you so successful? And they just told me. And it was awesome. And so I found that most great originators will just tell you what they do. And so I was able to build on, like, I call it the shoulders of giants, right? I didn't have to go make a lot of mistakes because they already made all those mistakes. And I just got to go put my spin on it and jump into the water. And so I became, my first year originating, I did $85 million from zero because I just took everything they did and I was just a maniac. So this is like a love song back to my industry, the book. It's all these learnings that I've compiled and that I hope help somebody. And that I believe at this moment in time will give them some motivation, inspiration, and tactics and strategies to actually go and change their business because the consumer's changing right around them. And if they're like me, where they're feeling like they're being bypassed, and they're feeling like that the customer and the behaviors of the customer is changing, and this whole social media world sucks, and they're terrified of it or they don't like it, it's a chance to maybe open up some paradigm and some worldview and attack this differently.
Alec, I'm so glad we finally got to do this.
Long time coming, buddy.
I have a quote I want to share with you. If you give me 100 men, 10 of them shouldn't even be here. 80 are nothing but targets. 9 of them are real fighters, and we are lucky to have them, for they make the battle. Ah, but one is a warrior, and he will bring the others back. You are a warrior, brother. And I really appreciate you living your example, because I see everywhere, and I like your philosophies, and the industry needs more warriors, and other industries do too. So appreciate it. Thanks for coming on the show, and
It
you're
was
always
rad,
welcome
brother.
back.
Thanks for having me. Thanks so much.
If you're listening to this, you follow Alec Hanson. Look into his organization if you're looking for leadership, and leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast. And we will see you next time.